The reprehensible Charlie Kirk shooting might not be as great for the Republicans as they thought it would be. I'm Cam from Bulwark. I'm joined today by our data expert analysis guy, Lakshya Jain, to talk about how you've actually seen some stuff that suggests this might not have been the turning point that Republicans said it would be.
Actually, it seems to have hurt Republicans, which is something that probably no Republican politician would have bet on in the wake of the event.
I mean, I feel like a lot of liberal commentators and politicians would have said the same thing, which was like, oh no, this is actually going to be like a huge jumpstart for the next level of the farther right conservative movement. Like, I know most of the people I know on the left were saying like, oh shit, we're cooked. This means that the turning point-esque messaging is going to be more popular than ever. So it was kind of surprising to me when you told me that this was not necessarily the case.
Yeah, Cam, in general, I think people, when it comes to elections and public opinion, people need to learn to stop overreacting to every little thing, because the way that people in Washington, D.C. think that voters are going to respond is often the opposite of the way they actually respond. And if anything, like elite sentiment in DC is like a negative indicator of how the public actually feels. So let me give you an example, right? Trump's approval rating in the wake of the Charlie Kirk shooting dropped by 2 percentage points because Trump doubled down on all of the rhetoric about the left shouldn't be able to speak, ban Jimmy Kimmel, do this, do that, mostly just attacking the First Amendment. And these are not popular things with Americans, right? Like, despite what a lot of commentators think, this is not a popular president. This is a president who is more unpopular than any other president in modern history at this point in time, other than Donald Trump himself.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that was really unpopular from Trump to the point where a lot of the MAGA podcast bros were outspoken against it. Ted Cruz was against it, which is crazy because Ted Cruz virtually always bent the knee. So I was kind of shocked to hear that. You think that that's the primary thing that really pissed people off here, was that Trump went a bit more mask off than he had been before, as did a lot of the Republicans?
Oh, yeah, I can quite literally find the inflection point. If you go to the New York Times or if you go to Nate Silver's Silver Bulletin and you look at the polling aggregator on the approval rating, I can quite literally see like a 2% bump in his disapproval right after the Charlie Kirk shootings. Countermeasures were announced on Jimmy Kimmel and the FCC saying a whole bunch of stuff. And then Trump saying like he's going to eradicate left-wing speech or whatever it is that he said in his thing. Like, this is the thing that I keep coming back to. These are not popular moves. The more a president talks, the more the public actually gets skeptical of what he's trying to do. And so this is like one of the most counterintuitive and yet robust findings in American politics. The more you say, the less people like it.
What do you think this means moving forward, and how do you think Democrats can kind of keep up that anti-Trump sentiment? I feel like there's been a lot of situations lately where the Democrats have had kind of a leg up on Trump and it's sort of gone away. I think that while Trump can still remain very unpopular in the polls on immigration, the Democrats are struggling to figure out how to maintain steady momentum against him on the matter. I think that Trump can remain unpopular on the Epstein files, and the Democrats are struggling to keep a strong hold on what's going to be done about that. Do you think there's a way we can actually harness this energy against Trump in the wake of something like this and keep it going through midterms?
I actually think the best way to harness any opposition to Trump is, this is going to sound ridiculous, Cam. I promise I'm not in over my skis. I know this is going to sound crazy, but the best way to harness any opposition to Trump is let him make the mistake. See, here's the thing. Out of sight, out of mind. This is how people think about Trump's policies. So there are things which, if you allow them to persist, would be so catastrophic that you have to fight back, obviously. And the best example of this is the tariffs. A lot of the tariffs got rolled back. And so Trump's approval went up again from the -13 it was at, because, you don't suddenly have economy wrecking tariffs all over the board. Similarly here, right? Like, fight back against it. Yes. Know that the more you fight back against it, the more he's going to get provoked into saying something ridiculous. That's actually going to play to your benefit.
Yeah, it does seem like Trump is better at making the case against Trump than the Democrats are.
Exactly.
And
right? Like if we were able to make the case against Trump, he wouldn't be back in the Oval Office right now.
yeah, so that makes me think like, okay, we have a couple winning issues. Let me know, like, do you consider tariffs something that we have been able to successfully capitalize on in terms of anti-Trump sentiment? Because I still feel like among the people who we could turn around on the tariffs, there's still kind of a misunderstanding of what tariffs actually are and the fact that it's us who are going to be paying for it. So I was about to list like, okay, we've got Epstein, we've got immigration, we've got tariffs, but I wanted to stop myself for a second and say, do you think we've actually got tariffs, or do you think that there's still a lot of work to be done on that?
I mean, have we got it in the sense that like voters blame him for it? Yeah, we have it. Have we got it because voters blame him for it because of what the Democrats said? Absolutely not. Like Democrats had nothing to do with the fact that the voters really disliked what Trump did on tariffs, because the leadership in the Democratic Party is unable to understand, in my opinion, some of the core rules of how voters perceive the president's actions, right? Like this is not a popular president. His actions are not popular and the tariffs are not popular, and we don't need to pretend they are.
Okay. We've got tariffs as a growth opportunity for the Democrats to seize control of that narrative. We've got healthcare, which I think is something that, I mean, Bernie and AOC laid out the blueprint for how to communicate on this. And I think that other Democrats, if they follow suit, will be able to be very effective. I mean, I think the Democrats in leadership have spectacularly failed to really communicate clearly, succinctly, why this terrible issue is something to be blamed on Trump. And I think that Trump is going to do a really good job convincing people that this is the Democrat shutdown. I don't think people are going to fully buy it, but I do think Democrats are not going to seize that as effectively as they can. But because this is the Charlie Kirk kind of not working out the way the conservatives wanted it to video, what would you say as like a 1 to 3 point plan for the Democrats taking the conservative response to that and packaging it into a bite-sized elevator pitch, understandable message against the Republicans going into midterms?
Your energy prices are skyrocketing, your healthcare premiums are spiking, and this guy who's in the Oval Office, instead of caring about any of that, instead of caring about how expensive it is for you and your family to live, is focused on trying to ban a TV show host. Where are his priorities? Like, what does he care about? Why are we focused on this?
And that's it. And that's
literally it.
Obviously, we've had this conversation a million times. It's the non-voters that we need to engage more so than the moderates and the independents. But because we still have to engage the moderates and the independents, is something like Trump going after free speech enough of a thing to get those fence sitters? Or like what of the issues that we've talked about today in terms of Democrat slam dunk possibilities against Trump do you think is going to be the most effective with the moderates? Is it the healthcare, the tariffs?
With moderate voters, it generally just comes down to pocketbook issues. These people don't care as much about these norm-breaking, institutional protecting, or institutional destroying things. They care about their pocketbook. If you're going to attack Trump on either free speech or tariffs, you really need to tie it into their pocketbook and figure out how is it going to hurt you specifically, because outside of a few extreme cases, they don't care. So the way you do it here is you say, this guy has no interest in making your life better. None. Has anything gotten cheaper for you? Are you paying less money for your bills, for your healthcare, for your energy? What has gotten better in your life? All I can tell you is he's putting in tariffs that will make your prices even worse. And he's not doing anything on the economy. He's just spending his time attacking Jimmy Kimmel. Like, what are we doing here? And that's the way I think you get him back.
And I see Jimmy Kimmel more than like a healthcare or a tariffs or whatever issue. I see that as a winning issue in the culture war. The same way that I kind of see Epstein as more of a culture war issue than it is like an actual policy issue. Like, yes, the Republicans are activating in the government to prevent these things from being released. But I see it as a culture war thing because it's the right-wing cultural commentators that are able to get people friendly with MAGA on kind of like a personal, emotional level. I see those being the people who are going to be turning the most effectively against this. So I guess what I'm saying is like, do you think Kimmel can remain at the center of the culture war narrative for another year going into next November?
Absolutely not.
But you assume that there will be more similar things in terms of Trump going after free speech? Because I've been saying this, like Trump going after Kimmel, Colbert getting canceled because of the merger, Barry Weiss running CBS News now and reporting directly to Ellison. I think the Barry Weiss thing is a little too complex for your median voter, but still that Oracle getting in charge of TikTok and TikTok becoming an Israeli propaganda tool. That's not my tinfoil hat conspiracy. That's something that Bibi Netanyahu has come out and said. They're all part of the same large narrative. They're all related to each other directly. They're like first cousins to one another because it's all the story of the right seizing control of the media and infringing upon free speech. So do you think there's going to be enough things fanning those flames going into 2026?
I think there will always be more news events. I think these ones specifically that you have mentioned will lose their relevance and their salience by the time 2026 comes around. But again, a leopard doesn't change his a leopard doesn't change his spots, right? Like there's going to be more things where this came from. Trump's instinct to suppress speech is not going to stop. We are going to get more of this. And the way we capitalize on it is by saying this guy has his priorities all out of whack. You at least should be able to complain against the president making your life more expensive.
You know what's sad is I thought when you said a leopard doesn't change its stripes and corrected yourself, you could have totally just let that fly under the radar and I would not have noticed. Like if you had just said stripes, I would have been like, yeah, of course a leopard doesn't change its stripes. Lakshya, thanks for joining me. Everybody, the Democrats have more winning opportunities to drive home effective messaging than we give ourselves credit for. And I think there's a lot of Democrats right now who doom their way through making it look like there are no opportunities for us to win. And that's part of what Lakshya and I are so focused on when we get together on these calls, is saying like, okay, here are the places where winning can be done. And the more we act like there's no beating these people just because of how much power they assert and how much control they're able to seize, the more we are allowing this self-fulfilling prophecy to come up and, kneecap us moving forward. Lakshya, thanks for joining. Please.
We have got to stop being the party of generalized anxiety. Okay. Like this is, when Donald Trump has this much power and so many people say, oh, well, that's it. We got to capitulate. When leadership says, oh, well, that's it. He's popular. What can we do? Like we've got to learn that first, that's not true. And secondly, the more you say it, the more true it becomes. Like, come on.
Well, just because he's getting away with so much shit and an unbelievable amount of shit that no other president would like even try to get away with because of the rule of law, doesn't mean Trump is winning every battle. Like he's getting so many people to bend the knee and capitulate, but there are opportunities. And that's why, listen, I hate to hand it to Gavin Newsom. Because I'm such a Newsom hater. And you do such a great job spreading the message that Newsom can be all popular with the libs, and that's great. And it's great to give them somebody to be excited about. But with non-voters and independents, this guy does basically nothing. It's like Pete Buttigieg with black voters, like never getting more than 0.5% in the polls. But like Newsom is doing things that show us that Trump does not have unlimited power. And he's going to send more troops to cities. He's going to try to seize that power all he wants, but it's the Democrats' responsibility to actually fight every fight with him, because Trump is like if you give a mouse a cookie. Every time you think that capitulating to him is going to get him to stop, is going to get him to say that he's had enough, no, it empowers him to do more and more. And like, talk about fights that Trump didn't win. When Jimmy Kimmel got put back on air, Sinclair and Nexstar said they weren't even going to run him anymore. He didn't make his tail between his legs apology. He didn't make his turning point donation. We are not going to run him on our networks. Then in the premiere of Jimmy Kimmel's Return, he gets record numbers, even with like 20% of his screens taken off because of Nexstar and Sinclair. And then Nexstar and Sinclair both put him back up anyway. So Trump got a minute of exciting control, but at the end of the day, people voted with their wallets. Disney Plus lost over 1 million subscribers, and they said it's the money, honey. And put him back on air because that's what people demanded. Everybody, even with can take even the smallest part in preventing Trump from having unlimited power, even if it means canceling your subscription to something. It feels like a drop in the ocean, but it all adds up and it all actually means something. And it all means we have the power to oppose even when it's the smallest battles. Everybody with Bulwark, we're Lakshya and Cam. We'll be seeing you again, hopefully Monday, unless I have to reschedule because I will be moving. Like and subscribe. We'll see you soon. Thank you, Lakshya.